Hello and welcome back, and a very good morning to you. If you just tuned in, you are with me, Wassam Ismail, watching Good Morning Sri Lanka on MTV Sports. And as usual, we have lots more interesting content to share with you. This morning we'll be talking a little bit about the Chinese bird flu situation and certain measures that are being taken globally, and we'll also be talking to you a little bit about Michael Bublé and how he says that his impending fatherhood has made him brave. We'll be talking a little, we got some interesting scoop on Michael Jackson's doctor, the doctor who treated Michael Jackson, so all that coming your way. But right now I'm going to show you a little bit of video where in a sign of growing optimism that Somalia is winning a struggle against pirates and Al-Qaeda, how the British go and they set up a embassy with in Western vote of confidence. So we've got a video on that, so just check it out.
In a sign of growing optimism that Somalia is winning a struggle against pirates and Al-Qaeda-linked insurgents, Britain opened an embassy on Thursday in a set of 4 metal cabins at Mogadishu airport. It was the first such move by Western powers since Somalia began to emerge from more than 2 decades of conflict. Turkey and Iran are among others vying for influence in the Horn of Africa country, with growing commercial ties and diplomatic missions already up and running.
And that we are able to reopen it today is testimony to the progress Somalia has made in the last few years. It's a symbol of our enduring commitment to the future of Somalia.
The country is enjoying a delicate recovery, but remains heavily dependent on others for its security. An African Union military offensive has driven weakened Al-Shahab insurgents from bases in Mogadishu and other cities. And piracy in the strategic sea lanes of Somalia is at an all-time low, thanks largely to a heavy foreign naval presence.
This indicates opening the embassy, flying the British flag in Mogadishu indicates the level of commitment for the government of UK to support Somalia to come out of the dark days into a bright future and prosperous future.
A stable Somalia would boost regional economies like Kenya and Ethiopia, which have been rattled by their neighbors' insecurity, and would reassure Western capitals which have long worried Somalia provides a base for militant Islam to flourish. The British government said now is the best time in a generation for Somalia to get back onto the road to recovery. Britain will host an international conference in London on May 7 on ways to bolster security, impose the rule of law and rebuild the nation. At the new embassy, due to be fully operational from late July, diplomats will live and work for a few weeks at a time in rotation behind 2 big glass walls squeezed between the airport runway on one side and the Indian Ocean on the other. Other countries with embassies in Mogadishu include Turkey, Libya, Ethiopia, Sudan, Yemen and Iran. Britain's previous diplomatic missions lies in ruins, closed in 1991 as a civil war broke out that led to first warlords and then Islamist militants stepping into the political vacuum. Once Britain offers a failed state, Somalia now has its most legitimate government for decades since Mohamud's election in September. But the government still struggles to exert influence beyond the capital. Foreign diplomats say they are spending more time in Somalia and will not be far behind the growing number of United Nations officials and aid workers slowly moving to Somalia from Kenya, where many organizations have been running their Somalia operations.
Well, there you go, a little bit of the situation over there in Somalia. Nevertheless, they seem to be coming into recovery from all the problems they've been facing earlier, and the British seem to be lending their hand and giving them a bit of support. Now, China is not just known for the Great Wall and Kung Fu and being the largest manufacturer for electronic devices. They're also making their mark as being a country that seems to be suffering on and off from this great disease of the bird flu. And of course there's been a lot of talks, and even on this show I've been talking to you a lot about the bird flu situation and the rising death toll, and recently we found out that the first victim outside of China was detected in Taiwan. Now it seems to be, they said globally they seem to be having a lot of concern on this situation, which is the current bird flu, which is the H7N9 virus, and apparently scientific teams around the world are engaged in an intensive effort to find a durable long-lasting vaccine, and it's not apparently just for the H7N9 but for all the bird flu diseases in general. So we've got a little video on that, check it out.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, C.G. Wei and Dr. Barney Graham are leading the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases effort to find a universal influenza vaccine that will provide long-term protection against all strains of influenza, from seasonal flu to pandemic versions like the H7N9 strain that has killed at least 20 people in China. H7N9 is passed from birds, specifically poultry, to humans, and Chinese authorities are struggling to contain it. Scientists from around the world are developing an H7N9 specific vaccine, but the outbreak is also adding urgency to efforts to provide a universal vaccine that will provide against all strains of flu, even as they mutate from year to year. Fauci says the biggest problem facing scientists is that all flu virus strains tend to mutate, so a vaccine that may work today is likely to be less effective or ineffective next year.
We need to have a vaccine that when you vaccinate somebody, maybe it's more than once, but you might vaccinate them now and then maybe a couple of years from now or even every year, that you don't have to change it from year to year. You can actually make it and you can put it on the shelf and have it ready for any emergence of a slight change, as you would see with seasonal flu, or a big change as you would see with pandemic flu.
Vaccines are produced with modified versions of influenza virus that, when injected to the body, stimulate the immune system to produce antibodies that will fight an infection of the real thing. The antibodies will attack the external protein spikes called hemagglutins that the virus used to pass it into the DNA into a healthy cell. However, the virus has evolved to adapt and can change the nature of its hemagglutins so that the antibodies no longer recognize them, allowing the virus to attach to infect healthy cells. But scientists at the institute and in laboratories elsewhere believe they have found the virus's weak spot, a group of hemagglutins that exist in the lower half of the virus, which barely change at all from year to year. This group is invisible to the human immune system, but through intensive genomic testing, the scientists believe they are close to producing a vaccine that will stimulate the immune system not only to recognize this group, but to send antibodies to attack it and neutralize it. Dr. Barney Graham of the Institute's Viral Pathogenesia Laboratory says technological developments of the past 10 years make it highly likely that a universal vaccine proven to work outside a laboratory environment will become a reality.
The chance we have now with these new technologies, I think, is that there are opportunities for breakthroughs, and breakthrough technologies allow you to have major jumps in performance of the vaccine. And so, not that we've had a breakthrough, but I think the new technologies and new ways of building vaccine molecules and antigens allow us to be in a position to have a breakthrough.
The team says they have produced a universal vaccine concept that have proven effective in animal models. But it could take years for that research to evolve into a vaccine that can be used by humans in the real world. A vaccine model developed by researchers in Japan follows a similar biological path, attacking the hidden hemagglutins. Saitama University professor and Japanese National Institute of Infectious Diseases researcher Tetsuya Uchida says after 4 years of research, his team has a workable model. We have decided the composition and we know how to make the vaccine itself. But while Uchida says the vaccine's effectiveness have been proven in mouse models and in human genes, it must still undergo rigorous testing on humans before it can be produced commercially.
So you're going to have multiple iterations of a universal flu vaccine. I can tell you for sure from experience that you're not going to have, one universal flu vaccine and the ball game is over. You're going to have one that's pretty good, then another one that's a little bit better, and then after a period of time, you're going to get a really good one. It always works that way in science.
Uchida says his vaccine could be theoretically ready by 2019, but Fauci wouldn't be drawn on a timeline for the Institute's version. He said that while scientists can make something that is predictably effective very easily in a laboratory, the real proof of the pudding is does it really work in the field. That process, he says, can take years.
Well, there you go. That's the vaccine that is supposed to be coming out in 2019, approximately 6 years from now, but nevertheless, better late than never. And of course, if they could cure a little baby of AIDS, I'm sure this task may not be completely impossible. That being said, I'm going to take you to a different story now. Now, I know Michael Jackson died a few years ago. Nevertheless, there are ongoing cases on it. There are ongoing investigations, and there's some latest news that has been revealed in terms of Michael Jackson's doctor, who is Dr. Conrad Murray. And Dr. Conrad Murray is apparently severely distressed financial situation may have led him to break the rules in his fatal treatment of Michael Jackson. A police investigator had testified on Tuesday. Now, Los Angeles police detective Orlando Martinez testified in the Jackson wrongful death trial that Murray was trying to deal with the large drop in value of his Las Vegas home, unpaid taxes and child support payments for 8 children with 7 women. Now, Michael Jackson's mother and children claim AEG Live is liable for the pop icon's death because it hired, retained and supervised Murray, who worked as his personal physician as he prepared for his comeback concert in 2009. Now, AEG says Murray was hired and supervised by Jackson, whom they blame for making bad choices because of his drug addiction. Now, one contention in the lawsuit is that the concert promoter would have known that Murray's financial stress could lead to unsafe treatments for Jackson. So that is the ongoing trial, and that is the latest scoop that has come out of that ongoing trial. Now, going back to other music celebrities, we've got a little video on Michael Bublé, who says impending fatherhood has made him brave. So have a look at this.